I know you would. All right. All done? Okay. You are seeing slope-intercept form that you already know. Y equals mx plus b. And in that, you know that you can get a slope immediately and a y-intercept immediately, which is just a point on the graph with the coordinates 0, y. Correct? So really, y equals mx plus b is really just point slope form, isn't it? Because we're given a point, the y-intercept, and a slope. Agreed? All right. That led us into actual point slope form, which gives us, again, a slope and a point, which is x1, y1. But you had to remember it was negative y1 and negative x1. They were opposite. Now, could you use 0y over here? Once you knew it as b, could you put it in here? Let me ask you this. Don't write this down. Just let me ask you this. If I gave you this, don't write down what I'm about to write down. If I gave you this, what is the 7? It's the b, which means it's the y-intercept, yes? Which means it is 0, 7, yes? Can I put that in there and there? Yes or no? Yes, because that is a point I know on the graph, and x1 and y1 is a point I know on the graph. Is everybody good? Okay, so you already know those two. The very first day, we were using a different form of the equation that I didn't name, but we were using what was called general form. And general form actually tells us nothing. That's why it's called general form. We have to do something to it so we can get some knowledge out of it, right? It's just a general equation. And that looks like this. ax plus by plus c equals 0. Now, please notice there are some similarities between all three forms. What are they? They all have an x and a y. Where do those x's and y's come from? The coordinates, right? Every point on this thing is an x and a y, yes? Which means that point right there has an x and a y, which can go into every x and y in any form. Is everybody good? Okay. What else is similar? Is there anything else similar? No, there isn't, is there? There's no m's in general form. There's no brackets in general form. There's a constant in general form. There's a constant in slope-intercept form, but there's no constants there, right? Everybody cool? All right, so we are going to work with general form and his ugly cousin, who's boring, standard form. And standard form is simply ax plus by equals c. You just put the constant over by itself. Okay? Now there's some rules to this. In general and standard form, a, the coefficient that goes with x, which sometimes is the slope, isn't it? But is it the slope here? No, if it was the slope here, what letter would it be? M, but it's not M, it's A. So A has some rules about it. A must be a positive integer. What do I mean by integer? Think back to Unit 3 if anybody can remember. No fractions. Absolutely right, Jalem. No fractions allowed. Which also means no what? Decimals allowed. Well done. And it must be positive. B and C must be integers. B and C can be negative. A must be positive. Is everybody cool?
So positive integer, doesn't that just mean whole number?
What? No, because whole numbers are... yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
A natural number would actually be the best word there.
Oh, yeah,
The reason I use integer is because B and C can be integers.
oh, yeah.
So I'm still going to leave positive integer there. Everybody cool? All right. So look now at the first one we are going to work with in number 1 there. What form is that?
General.
That is general form. Yes, sir. General form. Yes, sir.
Don't disrespect the troops like that.
Oh, hurtful. All right. Now, if this was grade 9 and I gave you that, the only thing you would have been able to do was a table of values, right? And it would have taken a while to graph it.
Oh, yeah.
We are not in grade 9. We are in grade 10, and we can graph it in about 10 seconds. Let's go. If I make this look like this, could I graph it immediately?
Yeah.
How? Where would I go? Once it looks like blue, what do?
You graph it. And you
I
insert
go
values.
where?
You insert values.
Once I have it looking like the blue, where do I put my first dot? Damaris. On the y-intercept, and then where do I find my second and third dots? You count from the slope. Yes? So if I can get to that, I can graph it without a table of values, right?
C.
Okay, so what do I have to do to the yellow guy to make it look like the blue guy? Tell me one difference. I got to get rid of this 2, don't I? What else? What's the other difference?
You gotta get rid of the C and AX and put it on the other side.
Yeah, I got to isolate the y.
Isolate.
So you've told me 2 differences, but there's one sentence that covers both of those differences, right? Isolate the y. If I isolate y, I have slope-intercept form, and I can graph it in literally 2 seconds, right? So let's do that. What do you notice about y over here? Not only is it isolated, well, isolated is the only word we need, because isolated means positive. Because if there was a negative out in front, it wouldn't be isolated, would it? So right now, y is negative, yes?
So we add 2 letters.
We could add 2y to both sides, or we can remember that we're just moving it over an equal sign, and what happens to it? It changes sign. So I'm going to have 3x plus 8 equals 2y. Is y isolated?
Yeah. Well, not yet, because you haven't used the 2.
I got to divide everything by 2. And now 3 over 2x plus 4 equals y. Can we graph that in 2 seconds?
Yeah.
I bet we can. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Line. Might have taken 4 seconds. Is everybody good? Anish?
Is that for the Y?
Yeah?
So I intercept.
It's the y-intercept. Does everybody get it? And Luke just did the next thing I was going to do.
Oh.
Reminding you why I know that works. Because that point right there is 0, comma, y. Right? So that means the x value is 0. So if I put 0 right there, 3 halves times 0 is 0. 4 equals y. Boom. Is everybody good? All right. Look at the next one. What form is it in? Ugly cousin standard form. Pain in the butt to graph. Right? So what should I do? I'm going to isolate the y. So where does that y need to go? I would bring the y over there. To the right. And what would happen to it? It would flip the sign. So I would have 3x equaled 4y plus 8. Is y isolated?
No.
What has to happen now? The 8's got to come over here. 3x minus 8 equals 4y. Now what? Divide by 4. 3/4 x minus 2 equals y. We can graph that in 2 seconds. Down 1, 2, up 1, 2, 3, over 1, 2, 3, 4. Graphed. Is everybody good? Yeah? All right. Now, let's look at number 3. Number 3 has 2 ways I could do it. If I put it in the slope-intercept form, am I halfway to what I want you to do? Yes or no? If I change this standard form equation to slope-intercept form, am I halfway to completing this problem?
Yeah.
Yes, because I told you I want you to use the x and the y-intercepts. And if I go to slope-intercept form, do I automatically know the y-intercept? Okay, so that's one way we could go about doing this. So I'm going to put a line right here, and we can do this with y equals mx plus b. How? Let's isolate. 2y equals negative 5x plus 10, correct? Y equals negative 5 halves x plus 5. Agreed? Everybody cool to there? So what then automatically is my y-intercept? My y-intercept equals 5. So I could put a dot at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, we know that we could count this out, yes? Right? But I have specifically asked you to tell me the x-intercept. The x-intercept is what value? No. X comma 0. What letter is that? X. What letter does that represent? What letter is that? What letter is that? Can I put these values in there? Great. What do I write instead of y? 0 equals negative 5 halves x plus 5, correct? Minus 5, bring that over here. Negative 5 over 2x. How do I get rid of the 2? Multiply both sides by 2. Negative 10 equals negative 5x. Then what? Divide by negative 5. 2 equals x. Now, Jalem already said that. That's fine. I need you to see how to actually find it. Then I put a dot at 2, and I can connect them. Everybody good? Now, of course, down 5 over 2, we would have known that anyway. Everybody good? Now, could I have done this a different way? Yes, I could have used general, I lie. I could have used standard form. Right?
Yeah, because you could have found that so on yourself.
Because x, 0, and 0y, correct? If I'm looking for the x-intercept, y is 0. So what happens to that y? It disappears. 5x equals 10. X equals 2. If I'm looking for the y, what happens to the x? X is 0, so it disappears. 2y equals 10, y equals 5. Why am I showing you so many ways? Is it to confuse you? No, it's to show you that every one of these methods is related and they are all soluble with subbing in x's and y's.
It's not solvable.
No, the real word is soluble, but we have had to say solvable.
Because it follows with the rules of how we say it.
Same reason that the word inflammable is becoming not used for the word flammable. Gasoline is inflammable. It is not flammable. Flammable is a made-up word because people are too stupid to understand that inflammable means it will burn. Because usually when you put in front of something, it means the opposite.
That's kind of English's fault.
Well, no, it's not English's fault. It's people insisting on rules for everything. It's just a word, right? This word is sword. End of discussion. It's sword. Right? That's what that word is. When my mother was teaching me to read, whenever we came upon a word like that, my mom would just say, don't bother learning rules. That word is sword. Oh, okay, Mom. No problem. All those words like that. That's what she did. And as a result, I learned to read very quickly because I didn't waste my time sounding out words that didn't work. Turn the page over. Write down an example of the equation of a line in each form. How easy would this be if I asked you to go right now? It would take you how long? Literally a second, because I haven't given you any rules, right? You just got to write it out. Throw some numbers in anywhere and you'd have the answer, yeah? Everyone agree? Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to change it slightly to make it a little more difficult for my honors students.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Write down an example of the equation of a line in each form which passes through -2, 7, and 4, 11. Now, write down each form. What are the forms? What are the 4 forms we know? General, standard. Oops, I was writing Y. Slope-intercept and slope-point. Is there a right or a wrong way to do this?
Yeah. The rules you gave us.
Well, there's wrong answers. Is there a right or a wrong way to go about attempting it? No, there isn't. Is there a more efficient way? Probably, because usually when I say this, there is, right? Work with your neighbor, figure out those 4, go. I got to go tell Mr. DeVries a joke, because I just remembered. You guys ready yet?
Yeah, I've got to do the little thingy though. I don't say it out loud.
Are we good? How many people started with general form? Oh, good. How many people started with standard form? Even better. How many people started with either slope-intercept or slope point? Yay! Does it matter which one you start with? No, but you needed to find something first. What did you need to find? Slope. What is the slope? 11 minus 7 over 4 plus 2. Right? Which is 4 over what? 6, which is 2/3. Now, where should you go now? Does it matter?
Yeah, you just have to find out.
It doesn't matter at all what one you do. What one would I start with? You should know this answer. Why? Because it is my favorite. Good job, Marley. Bonus points for you. No. Now, then, which of these must I use if I want to do point slope form? I could use either one. Somebody's angry. If I use the 2, 7, what would my point slope form be? No.
Oh, because y has to be positive.
So, all right, so if I use the yellow highlighted one,
You gotta go for your general.
then it would be y, what? Minus 7 equals 2/3 plus 2. Correct? If I used the green one, what would it be? Everybody cool? So slope points taken care of. Are both of those equally right? Yes. What is the mistake some of you are going to make? You're going to take the y from one point and the x from the other point. But you would never do that, would you?
Probably.
All right. Now, what's easiest to go to from there, or are they all equally easy? I find them to be equally easy. You may not. Right? So I see y already isolated by itself. So for me, the next move is probably going to be slope-intercept form, yeah? Which means I get rid of the brackets and I isolate y. So let's do so. In the yellow one, it would be y equals 2/3 x plus 2 plus 7, correct? Which would be y equals 2/3 x plus 4/3 plus 7, correct? Now, what is 4/3 really? Because you would never leave 4/3 in Mrs. Bad Grumble's class. 1 and 1/3. What is 1 plus 7? 8, and then another third. 8 and 1/3. So this is y equals 2/3 x plus 8 and 1/3, correct? What if I did the green version? Then it would be y equals 2/3 x minus 4 plus 11, correct? Y equals 2/3 x minus 8/3 plus 11, correct? 8/3 is what? 2 and 2/3. What's 11 minus 2? 9. What's 9 minus 2/3? 8 and 1/3.
Oh. Look at that.
And looky there. Kiddlywinks. Yeah? There's slope-intercept form. Done. And then I need standard and general. They're exactly the same thing, so it doesn't matter which one you use. I personally, from this point right here, find this the easiest one to fix up. Right? So this one, I rewrite y equals 2/3 x plus 25/3, correct? What's not allowed there if I want to go to general form? How do I get rid of 3? Multiply everything by 3. Now, 3y equals 2x plus 25, yeah? Is x positive? Is x an integer? So should I leave x alone? So everything else has to move to accommodate x. 2x minus 3y plus 25 equals 0. And 2x minus 3y equals negative 25. And there's the other two. Did we do anything mathematically difficult? No. Did we move a lot of stuff around? Yeah. Stuff does get jumbled up easily. But again, I remind you, you don't need to memorize any of this because it lives right there in your data booklet. Yeah, yeah? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So.
And the C is the y axis, right?
No.
What is the C?
C is just a constant.
Okay.
It is nothing. That's why it's called general form, because it doesn't tell you anything. It's just general.
Okay.
It's not specific.
How do we find the C's? Just because you put the 7 and that looks like
Well, when you isolate, you end up with the constant. That's the C.
And what would you put in the C spot if you're just forming the equation? The y value?
No, dude, the C was already in here. When we got rid of the fraction, we got our C. Everybody good?
Can you do another example of that?
We're about to.
Okay.
So, what form is that equation in? And I want it in general form, yes? So my goal is to move that to ax plus by plus c equals 0. What needs to disappear? Fractions need to go. What else? Go. What else? Brackets need to go. Now, I'm going to do this the longest way possible first. Then I'm going to show you a quicker way to do it. All right? You can go ahead and work on this right now while I'm working if you wish. The video will show you what I am doing. I'm going to do the long way in blue. The longest way possible is what I'm about to do. Y minus 4 equals 2/3 x plus 4/3. Does everybody understand that first step? Excellent. Then I look at it and I say to myself, self, I don't like that 3, I don't like that 3. So I'm going to multiply that side by 3, and then I'm going to multiply that side by 3. And I'm going to get 3y minus 12 equals 2x plus 4. Then I'm going to move everything around. 2x is already positive, so he's happy. Minus 3y plus 4 plus 12. Then, of course, because I've done grade 9 math, I know that I'm going to collect my like terms, and I'm going to get 2x minus 3y plus 16. Okay?
Oh, you moved everything right.
Everybody cool?
Did you
Now.
move everything to the right?
Yes, you could if you wish, but then you're doing lots of extra negatives, and you guys screw up your negatives all the time. Now, I said there's a quicker way. Y minus 4 equals 2/3 x plus 2. I don't need to distribute this fraction because all of you are scared of distributing fractions. So why not get rid of it now? If I get rid of that and I multiply this side by 3, what's the only thing that cancels? Just the 3. Because this is technically 2x plus 2 all over 3. Does everybody understand that this is this? So then if I multiply that by 3, I don't need to distribute that 3. They are just going to cancel. Everybody understand? But I do need to multiply this side by 3. So you can see how I've saved a step, yes? And I've saved the step that scares all of you, which is multiplying that fraction in there.
Oh my God.
2x plus 2. Now I distribute 3y minus 12 equals 2x plus 4, and then I'm in this boat. Is everybody good? Now, Luke asked a question earlier about this equation up here, where the c comes from, yeah?
Yeah, it comes from the distribution.
Now, watch. What point do we know is on this line? What's the point that we know is on the line? Not 2. -2, 4, right? Everybody understands that, correct? We know that -2, 4 is on the line, yes? From point slope form. That's how it works, right? And we know that that -2 is what? An x or a y? It's an x. And that 4 is a y. Now watch. 2x minus 3y plus 16 equals 0. What's x? -2. So what's 2 times -2? Is -4. What's -3 times 4? -12 plus 16 equals 0. What's -4 minus 12? -16 plus 16? 0. Same exact equation. The 16 was in here all along. Right? Everybody understand? Yeah? Okay. Prove it. Go with number 12. Do exactly what we just did. In whatever form you see fit. Does it behoove you for me to turn off the screen and do mine? You'll still see the video if you choose to check it, and then you'll see the right answers in 2 seconds. Everybody cool? Okay. If you finish that and you think you're ready, go on to the next page of homework. Yo. Yes. How many people feel they are at the end? Are you ready for the big reveal? Okay. I'm not going to move that bus yet, which mostly means nothing to most of you, because that show has been off the air for a long time. You know, people have often asked me that, Lena. They're like, you have a black belt in karate, you play hockey, you play rugby, you have 2 children who do karate, musical theater, scouts, soccer, rugby, right? Plus you do all the cooking, all the laundry, plus you have a full-time job, plus you know every single TV show ever made, plus you're not a giant tub of couch potato. How do you get it done? And the answer, believe it or not, is simply a good memory. I remember just about everything I have seen or done. It's weird. A lot of people think I'm way older than I am too, because a person the same age as me, I have reliable memories going back to approximately 1978, when I was 3. Most people don't remember that. Right? So I remember stuff from when I was 3 that people that are 5 years older than me, they were 8, they're remembering that as their childhood, like their earliest memories. But I have those memories from being 2 and 3 years old. So people think I'm older than I am because I have a weird memory.
Well, what's your first memory?
Going back that far, it's bits and pieces, right? Like, I remember being, my brother was just born, so I was about 3. I remember the house we lived in exactly. I remember my mom leaving to go to work and me running down the street after her in my diaper because my dad was already at work and saying, "Mom, don't go to work." And the babysitter running out the front door to catch me. I have a memory of that. I was maybe 3. I remember my first bedroom in that giant old house. We had a trampoline inside the bedroom. Not one of those little fitness trampolines, a trampoline. Because we were little, we couldn't reach the ceiling. And we had tiny yards because the house was big. So we had a trampoline in our room. I remember we had a really long hallway closet thing that scared the crap out of me. Because it was long and dark. It wasn't a closet, it was just this long hallway thing, the whole length of the house. I remember that. I remember going upstairs and it was pitch black up there, but we had the washer and dryer right beside the upstairs, and I was halfway up the stairs into the pitch black, and the dryer went, and I went, ah! And I ran back downstairs, and I fell and bashed my head, and my mom was like, what the hell? I remember that, right? And I also remember the TV shows. All right, are we ready here? There. Did you get what I got?
Hold on, I'm looking. Oh, no.
Yellow, green, bleu. Jaune, vert et bleu. Oui. Now you can see I did a double shortcut up here, didn't I? I got rid of the negative and the 2 by multiplying by negative 2. Because I didn't want either a negative or a 2 to be with my x, right? That's just practice. Right? That's just saving myself a step. Everybody Gouda? Everybody Gouda? Yes? So you want to skip these middle steps. You want to go from here to there. Okay. Again, it's just look at, that's where you start, and here's where you want to end, right? What's different between where you're starting and where you're ending? There's brackets here, and y is not isolated. So if I isolate y and get rid of the brackets, will I be here? Okay, let's do so. Isolate y. That means that has to move, right? So y equals negative 1/2 x, x minus 1 minus 3, right? You happy with that? Okay. Now what do you want to get rid of? Because y is isolated, so we only got to get rid of one more thing. What do you got to get rid of now? Brackets. So if it was this, 3x plus 1, x minus 1, how would you get rid of the brackets? Okay, so it's not 3, it's negative 1, so distribute it into the brackets. What is negative 1/2 times x? It's negative 1/2 x, yes? What's negative 1/2 times negative 1? Positive 1/2, yes? Minus 3, right? Okay, so what is 1/2? You have 50 cents, and I'm taking away $3. What are you left with? Negative 250. Y equals negative 1/2 x minus 2.5, right? What's 5 over 2? $2.5. Same thing. You have to be able to put those together. It might help you to look at it this way. Positive 1/2 minus 3 is 6/2, correct? So 1/2 take away 6/2 is negative 5/2. But you have to figure out the way you need to do that, right? I shouldn't say you. That's the wrong pronoun. One needs to figure out how one likes to do that particular kind of math, because everybody is going to do it differently. The vast majority of you will want to go to decimals because you feel decimals are easier, which is, of course, garbage talk. But I will never convince you, as was proven by our earlier discussion today about how you will never convince me that the music you like is good. I will never be able to convince you that fractions are easier and better to deal with than decimals, ever. for the next 3 years, you will never use a decimal in math class again. But you will all continue to use decimals every chance you get. Fractions are exact. Decimals are for people who don't understand fractions. Or for physics, where the decimals go on to 27 decimal places. Huh? Good. Physics will use decimals. Math will not. Your work today will be that page. It's entitled 384. I don't know what actual page number it is in your text. Now, I am going to hand out your tests. I did these tests differently because, believe it or not, everybody kicked such severe rear on it that I did not need to total your scores. I was able to subtract instead. Oh, that's good. Which means, as I was going through, if you had one wrong, I just did -1, -2, -3. Okay? That's how well everyone did. So, when you get it back, it will look slightly different. The X's are what you're subtracting. There's no totals written on it anywhere because the most I had to take away was like 10 marks. That was the most. And I know all of you understand that I am capable of subtracting 10 from 41 in my head without having to break out my calculator and keep totals on every page. Now, the problem though, once again, for the 5th unit test in a row, a great many of you, even though you argue and cry and complain and come running up to me in a stampede, Mr. Mind, you owe me half a mark, you have no problem not writing down 41 marks on here. Because you were all supposed to put your review score again on the test, like you had to do for Unit 1, and then again for Unit 2, and then again for Unit 3, and then again for Unit 4, and now here again for Unit 5. So before you come charging up to me to pick up a half mark somewhere that means nothing, but you come up here like I've murdered your cat, maybe you should think about the 41 marks that you've thrown away because you cannot remember something that I have told you to do 1,000,000 times. You do not get to keep these, so do not bother. Keeping them, that is. The mark in sassy blue ink is the test mark. And you will notice that I crafted such a good review that your test score is almost exactly the same as your review score. Why? Because I care.
Oh, I know what I have. But it's my review score.
Joseph. Jess.
Oh, I just got one wrong. I haven't seen it here.
Green.
Well, I don't know if you did it.
Halle Vieira.
Yeah, it's not. I can find a video.
Veronica. Yo.
I was in here when you guys you can find a video on it to correct it.
Okay.
But I just put a score on it.
What are the errors on the graph? Oh, is it that you swap? Did you swap Yeah, you swapped it.
I only have to go over like 2 questions on the whole test. Because that's how good everyone is. We're going to go over all of them. Eronica.